Second National Economic Council closes with resolve for sustainable collaboration to deal with security challenges in Nigeria. State House correspondents fill us in.
We support local government, we support states to develop projects that can be investment graded.
Interagency interoperability and real-time data sharing have strengthened coordinated decision-making across intelligence agencies.
Electoral Act Amendment Bill, Senate clarifies on adoption of both electronic and manual transmission of election results.
If the electronic transmission of the result fails as a result of communication failure and it becomes impossible to transmit the result contained in Form EC8A, the Form EC8A shall, in such a case, be the primary source of coalition.
Mr. President, I claim a division in respect of we need to vote individually now.
Plus, NIMET predicts early onset on rainy season, high temperatures across the country.
During the season of March to May, severe dry spells exceeding 15 days.
Good evening and welcome to the Network News on NTA. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Hingino John Adams will be starring from Lagos. And Benny Adams, one of the busiest businessmen, has financial reports for us. Benny?
Well, it's a booming Nigeria's capital market. We're going to be telling you who is on the gains and who is on the losses.
And our sports guru, Bade Adeleye, is part of the show tonight. Bade.
Elizabeth, Nigeria officially begins preparations for the second African School Games. And of course, we've got update on live football matches.
Thank you, gentlemen, and doing sure to follow us live on our website, nt.ng/live, and other social handles on the screen. Now, the news. The National Economic Council has called for sustainable approaches to Nigeria's security challenges, urging effective collaboration with subnational and local government areas to deal with multiplicity of security challenges by strengthening interagency cooperation. This part of the communique issued at the end of the second edition of the National Economic Council Conference. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Brilliant session of 350 delegates with 7 panel sessions, which deliberated on economy, interstate collaboration, human capital development, and ways to transform macroeconomic reforms.
We have signed the IFC and the federal government of Nigeria through the Ministry of Budget have signed a project preparation facility to ensure that we support local government, we support states to develop projects that can be investment ready.
And the education outcomes to empower the girl child and to empower our women economically, socially, and politically, but also the boys so that they will be well educated to grow into responsible adults.
The federal government and states should foster strong partnerships with the private sector, civil society, and development partners to achieve inclusive and sustainable national development.
Setting Nigeria on the path of national growth and prosperity with the implementation of the renewed Hope World-Based Development Program and encouragement of public-private partnership framework to attract inclusive development.
Interagency interoperability and real-time data sharing have strengthened coordinated decision-making across intelligence agencies. This approach supports the National Development Plan's digital transformation agenda.
The Council commended 12 states of the Federation that passed their tax reform law and encouraged others to follow suit. President Bola Tinubu commended Chairman of the National Economic Council, Vice President Kashim Shettima, for taking bold steps in driving the train towards delivering inclusive growth and sustainable development.
The Renewed Hope Agenda is not a slogan, it is a national commitment. And that commitment demands that we move beyond dialogue to delivery.
The conference also focused on national economic issues aimed at encouraging economic growth and development across the 3 tiers of government, expected to produce far-reaching policy direction for the states to align with the federal government's long-term economic agenda. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Let's now join State House correspondent Musbah Danwahab for some reactions to the second conference of the National Economic Council just concluded. So, Musbah, what do you see as the takeaways from this conference?
Yes, it's been 2 days of brainstorming at the conference of the National Economic Council just ended here at the presidential villa under the chairmanship of Vice President Kashim Shettima. And for the 2 days, we've seen serious conversations by state governors, ministers and other key players from other sectors who have made contributions, submissions on different panels that we've seen here. And basically they spoke around the central theme of the event, which is delivering inclusive growth and sustainable development, the Renewed Hope National Development Plan, and other issues confronting Nigeria, the challenges of insecurity, infrastructural deficits and other sectors that Nigeria, particularly the federal and state government, need to attend to and make their submissions. But besides that, some governors who spoke to us earlier after the event commended President Bola Tinubu for supporting this initiative to have this conference, which has created a platform of interface between the federal government, subnationals and key players from other sectors. Let's take a listen to some of them.
Having been a governor himself and now being a president, he understands why there must be that relationship, that interwovenness between the subnationals and the federal government. And I'm glad that he's championing that. His purposeful leadership, his experience has helped in shaping that narrative. Today, I must say that under his watch, the governors have never had it so good. I believe that this is also a platform to also allow us to now deepen our relationship, with the federal, identify areas of future collaboration and ensure that we sustain it.
Now, remember, this is the second edition of this conference after the first one in 2016. And on this edition, we've seen lots of talks, and we asked some of the governors about how to implement the recommendations coming out of this conference so that it will not just be another talk show. Let's take a listen.
I believe that when you take out time to refresh like this, it helps you see things from people's view and from other, ideas, and you all have been interacting. So I've picked a whole lot. Personally, I've picked a whole lot, and I tend to appreciate the challenges and the problems that each, different parts of the country currently also are. But essentially, we've also been able to speak our individual stories. We've been able to share our individual experiences, both at the national and sub-national level. So I'm hoping that everybody that has participated, especially our development partners, all of the MDAs that have been here, everybody has been able to take back something, one thing concrete, in which they can take back home to implement.
And we have seen certain targets, not just mere figures, but targets that will lead us, to prosperity. A lot of economic reforms have been made, but we have now decided to make sure that it sinks us down to the grassroots.
Now, after all said, we wait to see how these governors and other relevant stakeholders will put action to their words to ensure that all the recommendations are implemented. It's back to you.
Thank you so much, Musbah. Now, to Vision Care, the federal government says about 1.5 million Nigerians have benefited free reading glasses under the effective Spectacle Coverage Initiative Nigeria, otherwise called Jigi Bola 2.0, in the first year of implementation. The Minister of State for Welfare, Isaac Salako, stated this at the State House Meet the Press periodic briefing organized by the presidential media team. The minister said the initiative implemented through the National Eye, Ear and Sensory Functions Program of the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare in collaboration with the Clinton Health Access Initiative is part of the presidential plan to deliver 5 million free pairs of eyeglasses to Nigerians who need them. It said within 12 months, the program had also screened over 1.5 million Nigerians aged 40 and above for presbyopia, far-sightedness across 16 states, describing the rollout as one of the largest vision care distribution efforts on the African continent. Salako added that the 16 states currently implementing the presidential initiative are Bayelsa, Delta, Ekiti, FCT, Gombe, Imo, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Lagos, Plateau, Ogun, Kwara, Benue, Sokoto and Jigawa.
Going forward in 2026, Gigibola 2.0 is expected to expand to additional 8 states and deliver 1 million reading glasses in those states. We're establishing 4 additional vision centers in 4 states of Edo, Enugu, Nasarawa, and Sokoto states. Like I said, we are going to provide this year, by the grace of God, 25,000 free cataract surgeries through the Renew Hope Health Connect that is going to be funded through appropriation. We're integrating PEC services into routine primary health care delivery across our states. We're going to deepen community partnerships to drive awareness and uptake.
Partners on the project say they remain committed to saving the sight of millions of Nigerians who are having correctable eye challenges.
Nigeria has the opportunity to become a global model. You are leading the world in this model, demonstrating how a simple, affordable health intervention can unlock productivity and income for all, strengthening health systems, improving lives at a national scale.
But we must not stop here. We want to see its reach and impact continue to scale. Our goal is clear: 75 million Nigerians who need it with sustainable access to eye care services. And this is achievable with an all-of-government, multi-sectoral approach.
And in other news, the federal government has been asked to prioritize prompt release of agriculture sector funds with robust budget implementation mechanisms to safeguard national food security. This was at a budget defense session with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, which projects to spend 1.4 trillion naira in 2026. National Assembly correspondent Budgetary brings us details.
High cost of farming inputs and low pricing of farm produce were issues thrown up at this budget defense session of the Joint Senate and House Committee on Agricultural Services. Lawmakers request the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to strike a balance to boost the morale and productivity of farmers.
If this trend continues and funding in this year remains insufficient or is released untimely, it will significantly erode the broader microeconomic gains.
A bag of maize or guinea corn now goes for 25,000-30,000 naira, while a bag of fertilizer is going for 60,000-70,000 naira.
There are many people like me, particularly large-scale farmers, that have lost so much, and they feel discouraged.
Tractors were procured to be distributed to each of the states, to the various constituencies. Up to date, none of the tractors were distributed. What happened, Honorable Minister?
The Renewed Hope Agricultural Mechanization Program has 3 components. One of the components is what we have so far implemented in terms of funding. which is the Belarus mechanization program.
From food security to national security, as the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff take their turn to defend budgetary estimates with focus on improving intelligence gathering to boost internal security, as well as addressing shortage of personnel and operational limitations in the security forces.
It's not possible for the armed forces of Nigeria to cover everywhere. So it's important for us to enhance the capacity of other security agencies, especially, I repeat, especially the police force.
Persistence of security threats underscores the need for deeper institutional reforms and smarter deployment of scarce resources.
To the budget defense session of the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, where the minister described the approval of a 10-year national policy as a game changer to drive growth in the sector.
It continues to reflect under the Federal Ministry of Transportation. This misalignment creates avoidable ambiguity in oversight, accountability, and policy coherence.
At a session with healthcare institutions and agencies, lawmakers emphasized the need for research in the face of evolving health challenges.
I want to assure you of the commitment of the committee to partner your efforts so that we can have a seamless health system at least at the tertiary level.
The EFCC, ICPC, and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit also took turns to defend their estimates before the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And still on matters at the National Assembly, Senate has held an emergency plenary sitting and made slight adjustments to the wordings in the votes and proceedings of its plenary sitting last week, Wednesday, 4th of February, with regards to its resolutions on the provisions of Section 60, subsection 3 in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the amendment further clarified its adoption of both electronic and manual transmission of election results.
The emergency plenary of the Senate is to further make clear its resolution on Section 60, sub 3, which makes provision for the mode of transmission of election results. The issue is captured in the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 4th February. And as the page-by-page adoption progressed, the Chief Whip, Senator Mohammed Tahir Mungunu, moved for rescission and amendments of the clause, which the Senate did and adopted the motion.
As a result of the controversy generated, whether to use the word transfer or transmission, the controversy that it was generated, in order to clear that controversy, if the electronic transmission of the result fails as a result of communication failure and it becomes impossible to transmit the result contained in Form EC8A, the Form EC8A shall, in such a case, be the primary source of correlation.
The proposal that he made in the last plenary, which was taken, I therefore second the motion. If the electronic transmission of the result fails, if it fails as a result of communication failure, in other words, maybe network or otherwise, and it becomes impossible to transmit the result electronically in Form EC8A, signed and stamped by the presiding officer, and or countersigned by the candidates or polling agents where available at the polling units. The Form EC8A shall in such a case be the primary source of collation and declaration of results. Those in support of the motion as enunciated by Senator Mungunu and seconded by Senator Bamoro say aye. And those again say nay. The ayes have it.
But Senator Baribe moved a counter-motion calling for division so that each senator could vote individually on the clause. However, when granted the leave to proceed, he changed his mind and withdrew the motion.
Mr. President, I claim a division. In respect of? We need to vote individually now. This is the beauty of democracy. Therefore, Senator Baribe has proposed that we should go ahead and vote. And for me, I think we should do so that everybody can answer his father's name. Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to withdraw my motion.
The conference committee set up will therefore proceed to harmonization with the House of Representatives. Other features at plenary were 2 motions, one of which calls for rescue of those abducted during Waro attack in Kwara State.
Call on the federal government to redesign and comprehensively clear the Kanji Forest Reserve of criminal elements and consider the strategic establishment of security formations.
Meanwhile, Senate Committee on Special Duties has engaged agencies under its purview on their 2026 budget, among them the National Emergency Management Agency.
On this side of the aisle, we assure you, like my colleague said, we'll try our best to ensure that you receive the necessary support and funding.
The committee promised improved funding for enhanced delivery. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
You're watching the Network News on NTA. Let's take a break. More to come. To stay with us. Thanks for staying with us, and this is the news at 9 on NTA. In a renewed effort to address food insecurity, the federal government has distributed essential food and nutrition items to internally displaced persons and other vulnerable groups in Sokoto State under the Presidential Emergency Food Intervention Program. At the flag off, the Minister of State for Humanitarian Services and Poverty Reduction, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, described the initiative as a strategic response to economic hardship and food insecurity affecting vulnerable households in Nigeria. Abdullah Umar Ilalu reports.
Materials distributed under the federal government's humanitarian intervention include bags of rice, beans, millet, cooking oil, seasonings, and a cash support of 50,000 naira per household. Beneficiaries also received a bag of maize each donated by the Sokoto State government, while nutritional supplements were delivered to 3 centers across the state's senatorial districts. Speaking at the event, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu said the intervention targets internally displaced persons and other vulnerable groups as part of efforts to ease economic hardship and strengthen food security. He commended the Sokoto State government for its collaboration, disclosing that about 20,000 households across the state are expected to benefit from the program. Dr. Sununu added that the federal government is working towards institutionalizing humanitarian services nationwide to deepen social protection.
And Mr. President being a very proactive person who so much care and respect the dignity of average Nigerian, directed the Federal Minister of Humanitarian Affairs to go and actively salvage the situation.
Governor Ahmad Aliyu, on his part, highlighted similar humanitarian initiatives undertaken by his administration and revealed plans to construct additional housing units for internally displaced persons, building on the existing facility in Ilela.
Sokoto State government remains fully committed to transparency, accountability, and effective implementation of all social intervention programs to ensure that this support reaches the intended beneficiaries.
Beneficiaries expressed appreciation to both the federal and state governments, describing the intervention as timely and impactful and capable of easing the prevailing socio-economic challenges. In Sokoto, Abdullah Omar Ilalu.
Still on empowerment initiatives, the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program JIP is a flagship initiative under Nigeria's National Social Investment Program agency created to enable financial inclusion and economic empowerment to provide, which is on a zero-interest collateral-free loans to smallholder farmers, petty traders, artisans and market women across the country. And Hamza Baba, National Program Manager of JIP under the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, will speak to us on the latest move of the program, which is JIP 3.0. Mr. Hamza, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm sure you listened to that report on another intervention, another initiative by the government. But now let's talk about the latest move, this JIP 3.0. This initiative has had several phases. What would be different this time around, and what should Nigerians be expecting?
Well, there is not much difference, and this Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program is one of the key components of the Nigeria Social Investment Program Agency under the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction. It's not something new.
Okay.
It started since 2016-17, but recently we have the federal government has recalibrated the GIP, and that's why we're calling it GIP 3.0, in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's just the difference.
Okay.
The previous GIP, there was not much of training, financial, a kind of literacy training to the beneficiaries of our three schemes of trader money, farmer money, and market money. But now we're looking at empowering these our beneficiaries with some kind of training, vocational training, and also a kind of effective recovery of the loans. Previously we had some issues with recovering the loan, where we recorded like between 40 to 50% recovery rate.
Okay.
But now we are targeted to achieving at least 90% recovery rate from the loans we are giving out.
Okay. Now, we understand, we hear that the farmers is the target this time around, and the farmer money, we understand, is a powerful tool for financial inclusion and economic empowerment. So how are beneficiaries going to be selected this time around?
Well, we are deploying technology. We are actually launching it tomorrow, 9 a.m., starting from 9 a.m. at the Nikon Luxury Hotel here in Abuja, where all the beneficiaries from different parts of the country are gathering. And we are launching the portal where people can go and register. I mean, those that are eligible, not everybody, but the real farmers who are eligible, who have farms, or either they own a farm or they rented a farm, and they are Nigerians. And these people will be registered. We have the process at the national, on the subnational level. We are partnering with agencies like NIMSI, organizations like All Farmers Association of Nigeria, and also ADPs at the subnational levels to be able to reach out to the genuine farmers.
Okay.
So we have actually put necessary mechanisms to ensure that the selection process is very kind of transparent, and the actual farmers who are into different farming activities like poultry, aquaculture, livestock are the ones that are selected.
Okay. So let's talk repayment. The loan, we understand, is a collateral-free one. So how will the agency ensure a repayment of the loan from beneficiaries? And what modalities are in place to ensure that they pay back?
So previously, we had issues with the repayment because even from the inception, there were not much mechanism put in place to ensure effective recovery. Right from the registration, if you don't get it right, so you'll not be able to recover these loans. So in GIP 3.0, starting from the farmer money, we're going to start in this farming season, the rainy farming season. We're using fintech, we're using technology, the banks, the GIS. We're ensuring that we reach out through cooperatives, various associations of farmers, groups, to ensure that these farmers are verified, identified, digitized before they receive the loans. So all these mechanisms we're putting in place will ensure recovery of these loans.
Yeah, okay. All right, quickly before I let you go, how do we sustain this scheme this time around? Now that we're targeting farmers, and then farmer money is the tool.
Well, it's sustainable. We make it sustainable by actually recovering the money, and also we are trying to link them up with other lending agencies like NIRSA and Bank of Agri, where they can have a single-digit interest loan, thereby actually helping them if our farmers under farmer money are able to collect our loans and repay on time.
Okay.
We'll be able to recommend them to get higher loans from NIRSA and Bank of Agri. So all this is a broader kind of
perspective.
It's part of the broader renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of promoting inclusive economic growth and also expanding financial access to people at the grassroots level.
Hamza Baba, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the news, and thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Talking security, a witness of the Department of State Services in the ongoing trial of 4 men accused of being held behind the June 5, 2022 attack on St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, has identified one of the defendants as one of the attackers. The witness, who said he's a member of the Ondo Security Network, Amotekun, told a federal high court sitting in Abuja that he was able to identify the second defendant, Al-Qasim Idris, because he engaged in an exchange of gunfire at close range with the witness and others. The second prosecution witness, who was in church when the attack occurred, had identified Al-Qasim Idris, second defendant, and Abdul Halim Idris, fourth defendant, as those he saw among the attackers. The DSS is prosecuting Idris Abdul Malik Omeza, Al-Qasim Idris, Jamiu Abdul Malik, Abdul Halim Idris, and Momo Utuhu Abubakar for their alleged involvement in the violent church attack where 41 parishioners were killed. Now, in a swift response to the recent tragic accident involving journalists from Bauchi State, the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, has extended its support to the affected reporters. The journalists were returning from an NEDC function when the vehicle crashed. Abbas Meikano tells us more.
In a heartwarming display of solidarity and dedication to fostering positive relationships with the media, Northeast Development Commission presented working equipment to the affected media outfits, presented video cameras and working equipment, including 13 Samsung Galaxy iPhones, to the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists for onward presentation to victims of the accident.
I want to use this opportunity to commend the managing director and the commission for moving in proactively, getting those injured evacuated and receiving urgent medical attention, and in turn providing immediate replacement of their lost equipment.
Northeast Development Commission also announced 5 million naira donation to the affected journalists for medical follow-ups. The gesture is a testament to its appreciation for the critical role journalists play in public enlightenment and its commitment to supporting victims.
I must appreciate them for providing equipment that is going to go a long way in aiding the support of what really transpired as the result of accident around Bauchi State.
The NEDC's act of kindness was to bring succor to those affected by the accident. In Gombe, Abbas Meikano, NTN.
Now, Nigeria and Africa's efforts to spearheading sustainable industrial development were the major issues of discuss as experts converged on Cape Town, South Africa for the 2026 mining Indaba.
I would like to begin by commending
Mining Indaba 2026 AFC Forum is serving as a turning point of Nigeria's and Africa's industrial development on the lens in Cape Town, South Africa. The forum, organized by the African Finance Corporation, featured the presentation of the chairman of BUA Group, Abdulsamad Rabiu, who addressed policymakers and charged industry players to go beyond import to export.
So this highlights something really important, that when DFIs support the right projects with the right partners, the impact is sustainable and long-lasting. This model of financing is precisely what we need in Africa to unlock its industrial potential. Africa is one of the most resource-rich continents in the world. We all know that. Yet, the majority of its mineral wealth is exported in raw or minimally processed form.
He said Africa's development challenge is not the lack of resources, but utilization, and decried the backside in taking full advantage of the entire production chain for value addition.
Mining and cement production are long-term, capital-intensive ventures requiring patient capital, technical expertise, and policy stability. Today, BOA is mining and processing about 40,000 tons of limestone daily. Nigeria has transitioned from being a cement importer to a net exporter, saving the country billions of dollars in foreign exchange annually.
The chairman BOA Group, Abdulsamad Rabiu, referenced the Nigeria's transition from cement importation to local production, describing it as a deliberate industrial decision supported by long-term investment and policy commitment. He appealed for stronger partnership and resilience to build a solid foundation that will guarantee Africa as the largest market in the production and processing of raw materials for international markets. Abubakar Akwanga.
This is the network news on NTA. Let's head to Lagos, where Hingino is standing by with some reports. Hingino.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and welcome to Lagos. As debates over amendment to the Electoral Act intensify, policy experts and stakeholders have expressed optimism that electronic transmission of election results will further strengthen Nigeria's electoral process. With political activities ahead of the 2027 general elections gaining momentum, the spotlight is increasingly on the transparency of the voting system. Central to this debate is the electronic transmission of results from polling units, a move experts say is critical to eliminating human errors associated with manual collation. They are therefore calling on lawmakers to expedite the harmonization process and pass provisions that strengthen transparency and credibility in Nigeria's electoral system ahead of 2027.
Electoral reform is not merely a procedural exercise. It is foundational to the credibility, transparency, and predictability of democratic transitions.
Beyond result transmission, stakeholders are also pushing for the introduction of downloadable or reissuable permanent voter cards. Data from INEC's 2023 general election cycle show that about 6.2 million registered voters failed to collect their PVCs.
We strongly recommend retaining current provisions, that is, 360 days notice of elections, 180 days of submission of candidates lists, and 150 days for publication of nominations by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
As the National Assembly works to harmonize these proposals, many Nigerians remain hopeful that the final legislation will reflect a genuine commitment to electoral integrity. Those are the stories from Lagos. Business News is next with Benny Adams, but that will be after this break.
Good to know you here. It's time to talk business. Now, at a time of tax reforms and rising fiscal pressure, the Nigerian Revenue Service is holding its annual management retreat, setting the tone for how new tax laws will reshape revenue collection in the year ahead. Musa Abubakar has the report.
In a quiet setting, away from daily pressures, the leadership of the Nigerian Revenue Service gathers, not just to review numbers, but to rethink strategy.
We achieved 112% of our target. Mostly it was driven by the non-oil.
This is the service's annual management retreat, a moment to reflect on performance, confront challenges, and prepare for a new fiscal reality shaped by recently introduced tax laws.
The Nigerian Revenue Service will not be defined by what we say in this room. It will be defined by who we become after we leave it. We stand at the edge of one of the most significant institutional transformations in this country's history. The credibility of Nigerian revenue architecture and confidence in Nigerian economy rests in our hands.
Inside the retreat, conversations center on translating law into action, improving compliance, leveraging technology, and strengthening data systems to ensure effective implementation across the country. Management also reviews how the reforms will simplify processes for taxpayers, reduce inefficiencies, and build trust between citizens and the revenue.
Your mandate as analysts includes broadening the tax base while protecting the vulnerables.
At the end of the sessions, the goal is clear: a more efficient, transparent, and responsive revenue service capable of supporting Nigeria's economic stability and growth. In Abuja, Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
And still on the new tax laws, amid widespread criticisms and misinformation of the implementation of the new Tax Act 2025, civil society organizations and the media have stepped in to enlighten the citizens on the benefits therein. The latest is the training of media and civil society organizations by the German Konrad Adenauer Stiftung in collaboration with a civil society legislative advocacy center, that is CISLAC. The training is on early review and recommendations for media and civil society organizations, bordering on effects of the tax reforms on national budgets and economic developments, compliance, penalties, dispute resolution, and taxpayers' rights, in addition to value addition, value tax, added tax exemptions, with emphasis on how to be taxed correctly. Others are tax returns and implications, and the lies, half-truths of the tax laws on social media, among other issues around the implementation of the new tax laws were on the table.
It is expected that government should judiciously, transparently utilize these taxes for development, especially in the area of health, education, electricity, road, and including security as well as agriculture.
So when you owe tax, liability for a long time, you owe government for a long time, and the penalty is, the punishment, the consequence is penalty and interest. And the interest most of the time is in line with the Central Bank of Nigeria, monetary policy rate. What happens is that the interest will be accumulating and accumulating and accumulating, and it could get to a point where the penalty and interest could be more than the principal tax you are owing.
I believe that every right comes with a responsibility. You cannot talk of one side and be talking of your right as a citizen, without talking about what is your own responsibility to the state.
It is a responsibility of the tax authority. It's not doing us a favor to educate citizens. It is part of their mandate. They have a budget for it, to educate citizens on their tax responsibility, obligations, and rights to it.
Away from taxes, let's take a look at the markets. On Africa, it's a largely green scorecard, from the record-breaking spray in Lagos to the steady climb in Johannesburg and Tunisia. The sentiment is clear. The bulls are firmly in control. The Nigerian exchange was the star of the show today, with the all-share index rising by 1.65% to hit a massive 176,809.42 basis points, with investors in deep cap transact and Access Holdings smiling home big time. In South Africa, it's a steady gain of about 0.59% to close at 112,968.75 basis points. And in Tunisia, the exchange continued a quiet but steady climb, advancing by 0.22% to close at 14,614.35 basis points. That is it and business. But the news continues after this break. Do stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has released data that show that the 2026 rainy season will commence early in most parts of the country. Musa Babalu brings us details.
The hall is filled with scientists, farmers, environmentalists, and disaster managers. They have gathered to hear the 2026 seasonal climate prediction compiled by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, unveiled the document containing the predictions. The rainy season is expected to begin early, starting around February 23rd in coastal states and from June onward in northern regions and other parts of north-central states. The wet season will end in October in northern states, including parts of Sokoto, Katsina, Jigawa, and Yobe State. It will continue until December in South-South region, as well as parts of the Southeast and Southwest.
During the season of March to May, severe dry spells exceeding 15 days are likely in parts of Oyo and Ogun states.
The weather agency also issued a temperature forecast.
We have recently set up a team of experts charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the agency is at the forefront of integrating and operationalizing artificial intelligence in our forecasting responsibilities.
The occasion also marks the 140th anniversary of NIMET's establishment in Nigeria. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And next is sports update with Bade.
Many thanks, Elizabeth. Now, Nigeria has kicked off preparations for the second African School Games with the inauguration of a 28-member local organizing committee for Abuja 2027. Chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Deko, at the ceremony in Abuja, charged the committee to deliver a world-class event as Nigeria prepares to host athletes from over 50 African nations.
We must be a manufacturing, producing country in sports rather than a consuming one. And this competition will go that far to showcase that.
Of course, the Nigerian Federation of American
That's the much we can take on Sports Update. Thank you so much, Bade. And that's the news. Thank you so much for watching.